Alright, good day everyone. This is Frasers Centrepoint Trust results presentation for second half and financial year 2024 ended 30th September 2024. Right, the date that this presentation was released was 25th October 2024. Right, we look at the key highlights for FY 2024. Right, gross revenue is down 4.9%, NPI is down 4.6%. Right, however, if we remove the impact due to the divestment of Changi Centrepoint, which they divested, and the fact that there was lack of revenue due to the AEI done at Tampines 1, right, then the gross revenue is actually up 3.5% and NPI is actually up 3.4%, right, which is a decent performance. Right, we look at distribution to unit holders is up 3.2%, right, and DPU is actually down 0.9%, right. Right, we look at occupancy. This has always been a strong point for FCT, right, 99.7%, right, very high, right, almost fully occupied, right. Tenant sales, right, is actually up 1.2% for the whole year, right, year on year. Right, but if we look at quarter on quarter, we can see a more telling performance. You can see that fourth quarter 2023 was actually up 4.8%, whereas this financial year, which is financial year 24, right, it's been hovering around a lower number, right. So it averaged 1.2%, but you can see that the last two quarters have been quite low. Right, the improvement in tenant sales, right, 0.7 and 0.6%, right. Rental revision is very impressive at 7.7%, right, much better than last year, which was 4.7%, right. Leverage is more or less stable, right. You can see below 40%, does not include their perpetual securities, right, and you can see average cost of debt is flattening, right. This is very good, right. I believe that they actually paid off some debt that was at a higher interest rate when they sold Changi Centrepoint and I believe Hectare REIT, right. Right, macroeconomics, not much to say. Right, generally Singapore is expected to grow low single digit. There's low retail supply in Singapore because of a lack of space, right, that one we know. Right, we compare the second half 24 and second half 23 results. You can see gross revenue is down 2.5%, but we like to see that the property expenses is actually down even more at 6.9%, right. So even though the revenue is down 2.5%, the cost management is very good. It's down 6.9%. As a result, net property income is only down by 0.6%. Right, the distributions from investment has increased by 34.5%. Right, this I believe is due to the fact that they acquired more of the NEX, right. So wait, let me have a look at it. Right, yeah. So in March 2024, which is the start of the second half, right, they completed the acquisition of the additional 24.5% in interest in NEX, which means that their interest in the mall is now 50%, right. So I believe this has a part to do with the jump, right. And they have also finished the AEI at Tampines 1, which is great, right. So it's finished in August 2024, so right, we should see full contribution from Tampines 1 in the next results, right. So moving forward, it looks positive, right. If we look at distribution to unit holders, right, it's up 6.2%. That's good, right. This part is probably even better because this part is boosted by 1.9 million from one-offs, right, as discussed here, right. You can read if you are interested. Right, so distribution per unit, if we compare second half results year on year, is actually flat, which I think is a pretty decent result given that most REITs actually the DPU I believe dropped. Right, so FY 24 against FY 23 results, you can see gross revenue is down 4.9%. Again, cost control is good, up down 5.6%, right. So cost control is again a good point about FCT, right. NPI is down 4.6%, right. Income from distributions is up 29.3%. Again, this is due to the additional acquisition in NEX, right. This one they call it distribution from investments because they do not fully own Next and Waterway Point, right? So actually they own currently 50% of both, so that's why the income from Next and Waterway Point comes in here. Right, distribution to unit holders is up 3.2%, right? We like to see that, right? But DPU overall is down 0.9%, right? Because of the more units. Right, we look at financial position, right? We look at adjusted NAV is down 3 cents, alright? Sorry, not 3 cents, yeah, correct, actually 3 cents, right? But this is due to some financial things, right? So it's not because of their property devalued, alright? So we can look at their property valuations here, right? Actually, their retail portfolio is up 1.2%, alright? So generally it's okay, right? This one is good, right? You can see leverage is down, right? So they pay off some debt. Interest coverage ratio is up, which is great, right? And this adjusted, so it includes their perpetual securities, right? We like to see that, right? Average cost of debt is down, right? Which is again great, right? The rest I'm not too worried about, right? So on balance sheet wise, you have to give them a good tick, right? Because they have done well there, right? They have said that next financial year, which is FY25, right? This one they say that they have already secured facilities to refinance, right? So no worries about that, right? We look at their properties by valuation. I just want to see where their biggest properties are. You can see that this is called investment portfolio because they don't fully own it, right? So they own 50% of both Next and Waterway Point, right? So by just valuation, right, the biggest is Causeway Point, second is Tampines 1, right, which is one reason to be optimistic, right? It will fully contribute from next financial year. And third is North Point City, North Wing, right? Then next, right, if we look at it alone, right, sorry, actually their second biggest property should be Next because they own 50% of Next, which is $1 billion, right? So yeah, Next should be their second biggest property, right? So this is 1, 2, 3 for their fully owned investment properties, right? If we include Next, then Next is actually number 2, right? Then Tampines 1 will be number 3 and North Point City will be number 4, right? So anyway, I thought of a little bit of stuff, some anecdotal observations for Waterway Point, right? I actually just moved to Punggol and I realized that in this area, right, Waterway Point is the only big mall, right? If I want an NTUC, I have to go to Waterway Point, and of course there are shop houses that have shops around, and but again, no NTUC, right? If you want anything that is big, you want products that are not so common, right? I mean, you want bread, you can buy from the shop houses nearby, right? But if you want the more specific product, or you want large mall, or you want to eat something nice, you have to go to Waterway Point. And I tell you that when I look across from my block, right, which is about 50% occupied, my block is 50% occupied, I look across my neighbor, because at night you can see the lights, right? It's only 20% lighted. That means to say 80% of the people in across the block from me has not moved in. 50% of my neighbors have not moved in. To my right, the construction is not even done, right? The blocks are still totally empty because the construction is not finished. Diagonally across is also 20% occupied. What I'm trying to say is that there's a lot of houses that are currently going to be occupied in this area. And where would they shop? Waterway Point, right? There's no other big mall around here, right? So this means that actually moving forward, the rental revisions for Waterway Point probably, and all the non-mature estates that we'll talk about a little bit later, is probably still there, right? There's possible upside for the rental revisions because you have more people means more sales, right? Generally speaking. Right, anyway, moving on. Not going to talk too much about occupancy. Just Tiong Bahru Plaza is a slight drop, but not too concerned. It's still 98%, is very high. Right, Central Plaza, you can see that there's an improvement. Right, last time it was 91.4, a bit concerning, but now it's at 95%, which is healthy, and we will see the rental revision is very good. Right, this one is the only office they have. Right, this one I'm not going to talk about it lah. Alright, yeah, this one we talked about already. Yeah, rental revision is very good across the board. Right, Causeway Point, which is their biggest, up 8.8%, right, strong demand. Waterway Point up 7.3%, right, very good, right, and Tiong Bahru Plaza and Century Square also up 8.2%, right. So overall their retail portfolio is doing well, and you can see where this potential growth could come from in the future, like Causeway Point, Waterway Point, North Point City. All these are non-mature areas, which I'm pretty sure there's more and more HDB coming up, right? Tiong Bahru Plaza, I think, is a bit mature, right? Century Square, right, actually is, I believe, and Tampines 1, right, although they are mature areas, right, there are actually more HDB coming out in Tampines, and like, for example, I have friends moving into the IKEA Tampines area, and I think the only big mall around there is still Tampines 1 and maybe Century Square, and of course Tampines Mall lah, right? But you can see that there's still growth, I believe, in this area to come, right? Hougang Mall, they're going to do AEI, right? And the AEI results have, at least for Tampines 1, is good, right? So hopefully they can replicate for Hougang Mall. What sense, I'm not very sure. I'm not sure if Pasir Ris there's more HDBs coming up. Anyone know, can let me know, right? Central Plaza, like I said, just nice, they go above 95% occupancy. They actually hit 95% occupancy, I should say, but rental region is up 9.3%, so quite impressive actually. Right, not going to talk about all this. Right, yeah, Tampines 1 AEI completed in August 2024, so next result they should contribute, right? They have 8% ROI, which outperformed their target, so they aim for 8%, but they get more than 8%, right? And hopefully these results are replicated in Hougang, because Hougang, they plan to do AEI, right? So they're targeting 7% ROI. I'm quite confident they can do better, right? They're going to add area, alright, so they're good at this, right? They expand the current space to have more shopping space, right? So that's great about FCT, right? The management seem to know what they're doing, right? So you can see that other than Punggol, right, these other regions where they have malls are also going to come with new homes, right? 10,000 new homes in Woodlands over the next 5 years. Woodlands North Coast, 4,000. Sembawang North, 10,000. All these are going to add more people and more sales to their malls, right? This may be a future growth area, okay? Woodlands, right? The future business park, right? I'm not sure how much business this will draw away from the central regions, right? Maybe we need to think about CICT and whether or not their business will be affected, right? Just like Changi Business Park was badly affected by Punggol Digital District, right, coming up, right? So that's something we need to watch out for, but not FCT's problem, right? That's possibly CICT's problem. And you can see Yishun and Sembawang, right? Canberra to add 8,600 new homes, and then there's a new estate in Yishun, another 10,000 new homes. So this one is a bit far lah, right? The 2040, but this one is not too far away, right? Right. So this one, I don't know whether it's good or bad. They claim to be that is good, right? They say that they expect increased shopper traffic, but actually what we want is shopper sales lah, right? You walk but don't buy anything, that's not good lah. The money not going into your pocket, right? So this one good or bad, I'm not very sure, right? Some people worry that this area, the people will go over to Johor to shop, and that will decrease the sales in Causeway Point, maybe even North Point City, right? But it remains to be seen whether this is a good or bad thing, right? So I'm not sure whether it's good or bad, right? So that's sort of it, I believe. I don't think there's much more in the PowerPoint to talk about, right? So we talked about the good things, right? Then we'll talk about something that is a slight concern, right? This is retirements block, right? So here we have the DPU breakdown, right? You can see the FCT's DPU from operations sort of flattish, right? I would say. I think this dip here can be attributed, at least this year's dip lah, I think can be attributed to the AEI at Tampines 1, right? It is third or fourth largest mall, right? Depending on how you want to look at it, right? So because of that, right, you can look at this yellow color percentage, right? The DPU, right, actually 11.9% comes from the fact that instead of paying the management in cash, right, the management is actually paid in units, right? So this is a slight concern, right, because it causes dilution. However, right, I do believe that at least part of this 11.9% is due to the fact that the AEI at Tampines 1 did not bring in rental revenue. So management did say that when they do AEI, and that it affects significant amounts of distribution, right? They actually try to mitigate the drop in distribution to unit holders by taking management fees paid in units, right? So I think this 11.9% is a temporary value, right? Moving forward, I hope it drops back to the lower numbers that we see here lah. Alright, so you can see last time also got 9.2%, right, which is high. Then later it dropped back to around 5%, right, which I think is quite okay lah, right? As mentioned before, the median value for DPU from operations, right, we want to see around 95%, right? So you can see that generally it's there except for the latest year, right? So slight concern, right? We'll look to Vince to update his blog, right? I'll keep you posted, right? And the last tailwind, right? So the first tailwind I was alluding to was the fact that the non-mature estates, right? Punggol, Yishun, Causeway Point area, right, will benefit from increase in population, right, and therefore increase in sales. The second tailwind I think that may happen is that if everyone's worried about Trump's election will come with tariffs on possibly China, maybe the rest of the world, but I think he's targeting China a little bit more, right? If the tariffs do occur, generally it's bad for everyone, especially the US and China, right? But I think people around may benefit. For example, China's manufacturing may start to move to Southeast Asia or India, right? And in Southeast Asia, right, more or less, right, Singapore will benefit because somehow we're the financial hub here, right? Maybe the very high-tech stuff will come to us, possibly, right? And we may benefit from the so-called fallout from this trade war that is going to happen, which may happen. I'm not even sure if it happens or not, right? Trump is a businessman. I think he knows that trade wars are bad for everyone, right? So he may be just posturing. Maybe he just wants to deal with China, right, to benefit US, right? And if that happens, the tariff may not happen, or it may happen at a much lower rate, right? But in any case, I think that in the worst case, I think Singapore is probably going to be one of the lesser affected areas. And if you look at FCT, it's 100% in Singapore, right? So that's the second tailwind I believe FCT has. And yeah, with that, I'll just end the presentation. It's quite a long one, sorry about that. Please remember, none of this is financial advice, right? And thank you for listening.